Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. This is our second episode on Shires TV. I'm super excited to bring you another amazing panel full of wonderful musicians, teachers, pedagogues, the whole gamut. We're going to be streaming content for the foreseeable future, covering different topics with world-renowned players and most importantly, Shires artists and friends, and it's going to be a full blast. Tonight, we are featuring a collegiate trumpet roundtable, and we have a really awesome group of people that I wanted to do a quick introduction to. We have Mark Clodfelter, who's the professor of trumpet at the now University of Delaware. We have John Marciando, associate professor at the University of New Mexico. We have Nairam Simoes, who's now the assistant professor of trumpet at Arkansas State University, and William Stowman, professor of trumpet and department chair at Messiah College. And last but not least, but in alphabetical order, Nancy Taylor, trumpet professor at UT El Paso. So we've got a pretty awesome crew of people, and I want to be able to let everybody tell us a little bit about what they're doing and what their studios are up to during this time. But more importantly, if you have questions, feel free to add them to the comments below. I'm going to keep an eye on that. We can work your questions in. Do you have questions about warming up or practicing or method books or mouthpieces or whatever all the fun stuff happens to be? I'm sure we can get to it. But without further ado, let's hear a little bit more about all of our panel participants this evening, and we'll do it in alphabetical order. So, Mark, if you don't mind giving us the rundown on who you are and what you do, that would be awesome.
Thanks, Sam, and thanks for hosting this. This is a great idea. I haven't seen these folks in a while, and this is a really great. It's a refreshing thing just to see other humans because we're all sort of trapped and making the best of it, right? I'm Mark Clodfelter. I'm at the University of Delaware, where I'm privileged to work with a studio full of really fine, aspiring young artists, and we're doing a lot of interesting and creative projects in virtual learning. It's really it's a great adventure, to be honest. There's always an opportunity in everything, and the opportunity now is to sort of reimagine things, and that's what we're doing. I'm also really happy to be in a career where it's so broad based, because as a college trumpet teacher you get to do a lot of different things, and so I wear a variety of different hats. In addition to the University of Delaware, I serve as principal trumpet for the Asheville Symphony in Asheville, North Carolina,
Yeah.
and also for a new music recording group called the Trade Winds that meets in Tampa, Florida. And when I'm not doing all that, I get to run around and play some recitals with my wife, uh, the best musician in our family, pianist Rebecca Wilt. So that's sort of
And we love
that's what I
Rebecca.
do.
Rebecca is our Shire's hero,
Hmm. She's really a trumpet player.
basically.
She just doesn't know it yet.
But she's too smart, so that's why she plays piano.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
She can't be too smart. She married me.
It's true. Well, I'm glad you said it, so I did. Okay, so next up we have John Marciando.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Shires TV. And my name is John Marchiando. I'm the Associate Professor of Trumpet at the University of New Mexico. I'm also head of brass, which means basically I just sign forms. It's not that much more involved than that, but it sounds good, so I put it in my email signature. I'm also the principal trumpet of the New Mexico Philharmonic, and trumpeter with Tromba Mundi, and trumpeter with Summit Brass. And then my wife and I, Bryn Marciando, have
She's
a little,
smart, so that's why
a
she
little. Yes, my wife is actually the smartest person in the world for marrying me.
And
But
I think somebody
um,
is listening.
we have a little duo called Marcion Duo that is a sort of fledgling project right now, and we're looking to now that our young children are getting older, looking to take that out for some spins as well. And so, like everyone in this panel, I do many different things, and again, that is the really advantageous thing about being a college professor, is that you are expected for the job to do many different things and wear different hats. And so, and that frankly is why I chose to go into this profession, to have the very performing career that I do. I'm very lucky to be able to do that, and lucky to have all, both a university and an instrument company who support me in that venture. So, and like all of you, we're trying to figure out how to survive online as a studio. My students have been great with this whole change. We have some big plans in the brass area at UNM for some changes we're going to make for next fall to make it even more inclusive to all the brass area. Because frankly, I think there's a good chance we're all going to be online in the fall as well. And so,
Nancy,
we're going to plan now, so, but I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I think that, again, as Mark said, there is an opportunity for us to become more fluent in many different things because of this. We're all more tech savvy because of this. I'd never heard of Zoom before this. I should have bought stock. Right?
That's what I was saying too. I know.
Yeah, but now I know how to use Zoom, and now I know how to use some software I never had used before, like Premiere Rush from Adobe and GarageBand and Audacity and all those things that I never really knew how to use before. So, and we can take this as an opportunity to expand our abilities in many different ways as musicians beyond practicing and performing.
That's a great point. That's a really great point, and a great introduction. Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next we have Nairam. Nairam, would you mind giving us a quick rundown about who you are and your new appointment and what you do?
Absolutely. I think that my introduction is not going to be as good as the previous two, but I'm going to give my best shot here. First of all, I just want to say thank you very much, Shires, for giving me this opportunity to be here among such amazing colleagues. It's such an honor, to be around all you guys that I've seen growing up. I'm not trying to say that you guys are old, but you are some of my but you guys are some of my trumpet heroes, and it's really a privilege to be here talking to you guys today. I'm originally from Brazil, as you might have picked up by my accent. I am right now trying to find my different hats because I'm finishing up the year as instructor of trumpet at Lamar University, but I'm starting in the fall, having some big shoes to fill at Arkansas State University, and I'm really excited for this move. I think it's going to be very good. I am alum of the University of Memphis, so it's going to be kind of going back home at a sense. And I was supposed to be teaching in Brazil at the Campina Grande International Music Festival this summer, but unfortunately it got canceled. But I'm looking forward to the next years, and hopefully I'll be able to go back. And I am starting a trumpet and tuba duo with my friend Victor Gomez. He's the tuba professor here at Lamar University. He is also from Argentina, and we're gonna try to do some really cool Latino, Brazilian, Argentinian style recordings that you guys will be getting from us in a little bit.
That's awesome. That's going to be so cool.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I bet. Let's see. Dr. Bill Stowman, you are next up on our alphabetical list of panelists.
Right. Well, Sam, first of all, thanks for hosting again. Really appreciate that. So, yeah, this is year 24 for me at Messiah College. Yeah, I taught high school before that, before going back for grad degrees, and it just kind of landed in a place that I really love here. In addition to the teaching I do at Messiah, I'm also an administrator. I've been a department chair for about 15 of those years. So I get to do a little bit of everything and kind of see both sides of things. Play with the Messiah College faculty brass and a really tremendous group we have here called Brass Cross. Which is a student and faculty hybrid group. We've done some recordings and have really enjoyed that. I also play in Trombomundi, as John mentioned. I'm principal third trumpet in that group. And my students and I together have served the trumpet community in a variety of ways, but over the years we've hosted ITG. We did that in 2009, and I've actually hosted the National Trumpet Competition a couple of times. Unfortunately, this year that didn't work out, but we hope at some point to bring it back.
That's awesome.
So there you go.
Yeah, thank you for all of the work that you did put into preparing for NTC, though, because it was pretty last minute decision so that we could try our very best to make it happen. So thanks to you and all your students and your whole crew for everything that you've done.
Yeah, we were obviously ready to go, but at the time it was the only right decision to make. So
yeah, of course, yeah. So last but not, last for these introductions, but I will say one of my own personal trumpet heroes and now very close friend, Nancy Taylor, who is joining us from El Paso. Nancy, can you let us know a little bit about yourself?
Thank you so much, Sammy. It's great to see you. And it's great to be here. So I am from El Paso, Texas. We're right on the border of Mexico. And I'm in my 11th year teaching at UTEP. And I play principal trumpet in the El Paso Symphony. Our brass faculty, we've got a great brass quintet going. My first professional gig was in the President's Own United States Marine Band. And just yesterday, I think, they launched the a cappella project that we put together.
It's so awesome.
Yeah, that was cute, right? Yeah, and I was thinking about it's like, wow, there have only been 5 women in the trumpet section, right? Which is just ridiculous. But
all kick-ass women, so that's.
And they're all kick-ass women. They're all really good friends, and so that was fun to put together, and it was really neat to do that project. So anyway, that's the coolest performing experience I've ever had. But I really love teaching. I really love teaching at UTEP. A few years ago, 10 years ago, I went back to get a degree. And when you're old, 10 years goes like that. But I got a degree in occupational therapy. And in learning about OT, I realized I knew a bunch of stuff that could help musicians. So I wrote a book on healthy musicianship, which is a big deal for musicians, on, not hurting. And I'm working on a doctorate now at Texas Tech, because it's never too late.
Right.
I'm going to go across the stage in my walker. And actually, I'm going to walk. I should graduate hopefully next spring, and I'm going to walk with one of my students, with Matthew Hernandez.
That's wild. Wow.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
That's great.
And he's going to go before me, so he's going to try and work it out to hood me. So anyway, so I'm working on health and wellness for the trumpet player as part of my degree plan there at Texas Tech. So I guess that would be the biggest project I'm working on, is getting a doctorate, because I want one.
Good for you.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. Well, I just want to remind everybody just to feel free, type in some questions if you have them. This is a great opportunity if you're a trumpet player or a brass player or a musician of any kind who's watching. We have some preloaded questions already, so I'm going to jot a few over to the panel. I think for this kind of stuff, if anybody has anything to add, the more the merrier on some of this. But probably the first one is, everybody right now is doing online teaching. We were just chatting about this before the session even started. What are some of the tips that you guys are telling your students in dealing with this newfound reality so that they don't feel overwhelmed? Because this is totally new, it's totally stressful. People feel like there are so many projects that they have to do. And how do you measure up? It's a totally different perspective on what success is. What's like if somebody's coming to you, they're like, Dr. Stowman, Doc, I'm real stressed about all this stuff. What are you telling your students right now?
Well, I think it's our responsibility. I mean, this is all the time, whether we're doing the online thing or whether they're there. I mean, we're responsible for their education, and it's such a huge part of that is their motivation, whether they're right in front of us or they're at home. So I've tried to be as supportive as I can in that. Obviously, we all need to manage our expectations about what's going to get done and how much is going to get done. So I've been as precise as I can be with assignments. I've kind of measured things for them. Interestingly, I've had some students who have really thrived in this.
What does that look like?
I mean, there are students a couple students in particular who have just gotten better every week. And if you think about this, they're not in ensembles. Yeah. They don't have so many other demands. And when given this opportunity, have made the most of it by just spending the time practicing and getting better all the time.
Nancy, you're muted right now.
Because their chops aren't all blown to pieces from playing in ensembles for 6 hours a day. I found the same thing. It's like, it's a great time to improve range and to really shed on some things.
Dedicated practice time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
And I think for others, there's just so many things, if you think about it, that go into their study that we often don't get to, right? How many times do we have an opportunity, like in our studio classes now, to sit down and listen to a list of great trumpet players so they know who these people are?
Right.
And, so often we're caught up in preparing for the recital or preparing for a jury or whatever it is, and we don't get to some of those things. And now we have that time.
That's a good point.
One of the things that I've been careful to do is to keep the focus on what we can do, what is within our sphere of influence, because many things are now not within our sphere of influence that we are accustomed to having, and it's easy to turn your focus on the things that we can't do, and that's a really negative paradigm, and it leads down a path very easily to depression, and our wellness and our sense of well-being is so tied up in our creativity and our discipline that coming up with ways to create in a successful way in this environment is incredibly important, I believe. I immediately realized that I could try to do what we normally do in a deficient way, or we could change our focus for a type of creativity that would actually really work, that we could own in this space. And so that's been one of my big focuses, is what can we do? Let's own it. Let's do it well. And so we've been doing things that lead us to work fluently in a digital audio workstation, which is a real part of our work world today as musicians. Also virtual collaborative type of applications. And then the idea of understanding when we're in a trumpet lesson the things that are objective that can really be dealt with versus the things that may be more subjective and hard to deal with the differences in broadband and internets and setups. Nuances in sound are difficult to deal with, but great fundamental technique, not so much. We can go a long way with that, and if we enhance that vocabulary now, then when we get back together and we can delve deeper into some of the other areas, we already have that basis of vocabulary built.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
So that's a thing that we can do, and I think that's been part of our focus for sure.
That's awesome. Anybody else have any other tidbits?
Yeah, I mean something I did in the first few weeks of this time. We had at UNM 8 weeks of time online. We're finishing up our last week of classes this week, and going to finals week next week. And in the first few weeks, we were all trying to find our bearings with what things are going to sound like and how it's going to work. And so I told my students that, look, these first few weeks are just going to be shared practice sessions. Let's just get together, play trumpet together. I'll show you play for me what you're doing. I will talk to you about how I would practice it, how I think you can practice it to make it better. And it just became that. And we didn't worry necessarily about assignments and learning new rep and expanding mini boundaries that way. And I think my students would all tell you that they've become better practicers now because of that. And then when we started to get the groove in it these last few weeks, we've now been doing more assignments of pre-recorded things, and then we actually are listening to them online together.
As a studio, or just one-on-one?
Both as a studio and both one-on-one. So and pretty much everyone has reported that that's been really helpful to listen to the recording that they made as a listener, not as someone trying to play immediately right after. So the analytical part of their brain and the creative part of the brain aren't fighting in the lesson, and so now they can just be analytical and hear some of the things I talk to them about, and I think we're going to move, kind of follow a similar model to start in the fall, but then also the brass area faculty and I are hoping we can do some things with some brass area type Zoom activities as well, to include each other in what we're doing. You know, I think there's something to be said for having your colleagues also doing something with you, because you know, sometimes, and you, I think my colleagues here will all agree, I felt like I've been on an island sometimes as the teacher, like I'm all alone. I don't have anyone else to really get some advice from or help from, and so I think that that is important for all of us as well as faculty, to feel like we have somebody we can go to, or some people we can share some teaching duties or fun teaching things with, you know. So,
and that's another
Sam,
thing, by the way, I was just going to say, I'm sure we have a lot of other teachers who are going to be watching this thing. So like the fact that you guys are doing this, everybody's going to be so grateful just to hear your own thoughts and ideas too.
Mm-hmm.
This is a huge
I think one of the things that comes out for a lot of people, you hear about talk about it in a different regard, but we don't have a choice, right? We're stay at home. You're here. This is a reality that has been kind of been put upon us. So I think it's like most other things. You have an option to look at that one of two ways, just like you look at your regular practice. It's something, you know, it's a checkbox. You feel like you need to do it, or is you're practicing in your time with the horn, your sanctuary. It is for me. Like that practice time for me early in the morning is sanctuary. The door goes closed. I have my time, and I think I know it's a mindset thing. When you put yourself, you encourage students to be in that place. That's a time where they go to get away from all this.
right.
Can be an escape.
I don't
what
know
time
if
are
the
you
rest
doing
of
that, Bill?
I don't know if the rest of you have experienced this or not either, but you probably have. But with all the recording that's going on now, there's a special type of reflection that a student gives to something they're going to submit through recording, rather than simply play in real time. And they become extremely analytical, and their self-evaluative and self-diagnostics are getting sharper. And so that in itself, just a longer look in the mirror, as it were, I think is going to yield something really special in the long run.
Can I ask a quick follow-up question? It's on the same thing, but Keith Morales just asked, how are you listening to things online together with students? How are you, like, is there a specific software that you're using? Are you doing that through like an internal Facebook group or back and forth?
Well, right now, I'm just having it play through the speaker of my computer, and I put my microphone, you know, my mic right behind it, and just have it play through there.
Your students, or
if there's somebody, and then they listen as well. If there's somebody that, you know, is out there that can tell me there's a Zoom setting that I can send the audio that I'm hearing on my computer through can I do that? Because I haven't figured that out yet. So,
John, if you go down to Zoom and you hit share screen,
I do that. Yes.
Okay, now look on the side in the lower left-hand corner. It says share computer sound.
Got it. Okay. All right.
We're all learning.
And that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing.
Because I've asked some people who are doing the same thing and they didn't know either, and so
when you do share screen, you can pull up their music, and then on share screen you go to annotate and you can mark them.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, no, we've been doing all that, and that's cool. Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Mark.
Right.
On.
Took over this whole presentation.
Yeah.
I have something to add.
I'll have to mess with that with my students tomorrow. And,
there you go.
And then apologize to the rest of my students for not knowing how to do that. You know.
All these 8 weeks of teaching. Yeah. Nairam, are you going to join in with something? I saw you.
Yeah. Going back to what we were talking about. You know, I think one of the things that's been very difficult. It's really to pay attention to our students' mental health stage. You know, there's a bunch of people that had to move back home, and things at home are not as they would be if they were on campus, so they can focus. Or some people have younger siblings or even babies, you know, parents that are working full time. So we had a couple of hiccups where people couldn't practice because, you know, they were at home, and there are some counties here in Texas that were actually fining people from leaving. Oh. So, no, we didn't even have the option to just go into a park or play or to an empty parking lot because they couldn't do it. So I think one of the things that really helped our students here is when the faculty got together and told them, you know, we are in this together. You know, we don't know all the answers, but we are flexible, we are adapting, and we're going to make this work. You know, to always trying to motivate the students, like it was mentioned before, and also telling them, you know, like this is we are all in this. We are here for you guys. We made sure to call all of our students. You know, I know there are ensemble directors here. They called every single one of the students to check on them. Our department chair did the same thing. You know, I think that was very, very helpful. I heard very good feedback from our students. Some of them kind of just disappeared. You know, they are saying that they went on spring break and never came back. You know, and after us reaching out and, you know, showing them that we care and that we are here for them, then they came through and they did what they were supposed to do. And of course, there's a lot of internet problems. For example, YouTube yesterday was going really slow for some reason. I think we all picked, you know, our Jewish the same day, and
Yep.
then but I think just trying to tell the students that we are here for them and we are in this together was very, very important.
Yeah. This is the same thing, but I'm going to throw this to Nancy really quick, because I'm lucky enough that I've gotten to see all of these amazing teachers in some type of teaching environment or with their studio or at a festival or a competition or something. I've gotten to visit Nancy over at UTEP quite a few times and gotten to see the camaraderie that she has with her students and the studio mates themselves all together. To be honest, every single person on this panel has a similar relationship with their students and their students amongst each other. But Nancy, like, how are you continuing to drive your studio to like be together? Like, how is that working out? And what would you say to other people who are in a studio maybe where they could do a little bit more just to feel like they're part of something?
Wow, I wish you hadn't asked me that, because that's really hard. It's been heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It's been really tough.
But even acknowledging that it's tough is probably something good for us to all realize.
You know, Nairam was talking about how you know, they need to know we're all in this together. It's, you know, it's hard. We have a Facebook page. We have a private Facebook page where we all post memes and everybody posts their weekly assignments, and they give each other grief then about their playing. And so that's been cool. So there is that opportunity for them to give each other grief, which is a big part of the community. But we've missed it. We've missed it quite a lot.
Well, all of you teachers have amazing students. I mean, it seems like you attract the people that you want to work with and vice versa, right? So, I mean, it's always a really positive environment in all these studios. So, like, same thing, Bill, like, you have some students who are the best of friends. Like, what do you tell your studio mates in terms of like still working together on projects, or is there much opportunity for some of that?
Yeah, I think there is. I think what's been reaffirming for me is that I've seen some of those things hold on. So there was one of the things, the studio here is always around 10 or 12 players. That's kind of perfect for us. That's all it needs to be, and that's at that number I can give them the kind of attention that they need and that we market, to be quite honest about it. And so there are close relationships there. I know that they're out there working together on projects on their own. I've kind of seen that happen. These two are recording a duet. These two are working on something else. So you kind of hope that those things hold as it moves forward. One of the things that I did was to give the studio a lot of input and leadership over what we did with our studio time for the rest of the semester. I wanted them to be excited about it. So as a result, we talked about who we would invite. And so Ashley Hall visited with us this past week. Caleb Hudson was in to visit with us. Ryan Gardner is going to be there next week. So I put some things in front of us that everyone could look forward to and that we had in common.
That's awesome. I'm going to change topics a little bit and let's get into some geeky trumpet stuff, because I'm sure there's plenty of people who are watching this that are going to want to hear about warm-up routines and all that kind of stuff. But what is on your practice stand right now, each and every one of you? What are some of the things, if there's anything, what are some of the things that you are finding like joy in playing? Nancy, you go first.
I just found this. Well, I've started doing, I've been doing buzzing basics in the mornings with my students, and I can share the computer audio and they mute it. And so we do buzzing basics. That's great. But I just found this, this book, John Daniel, awesome flexibility stuff. It's got everything, but that's what I like.
Yeah, it's a great one. It's a big, thick book too. There's tons of exercises.
It is. There's tons of exercises, a bunch of lip bending stuff that helps with flexibility.
Yeah. Awesome.
How about you, Nairam?
Charlie, hey, nice. Okay.
Well, you can
never heard of it.
Never heard of it. Yeah,
What's
me
your plan?
either. Actually, I just heard all of the Hokan's recordings they are coming out, and that was just so fantastic. And I'm like, you know what, I should practice this again because
I feel like my 9-month-old baby is now going to recognize the Charlier stuff from like both myself and my husband listening to those things more than anything else. So
That's
just amazing.
So Sam, I'll tell you that. So here you go. Peter Pickett changed my life with his mouthpieces.
Yeah.
Shires changed my life with the trumpets. Joey Tartell changed my life with a practice routine.
Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about that. And I know he's listening, and it pains me.
How much did he pay you?
It pains me, trust me, to say this. But this thing that we call The Thing is about a 90-minute gauntlet in the morning that takes you through all the trumpets.
Okay.
You play B flat, C pick, E flat, flugelhorn, and for him, alto, flugel, and bass. But you go through all of this routine, and by doing this thing on a daily basis, it is a non-negotiable, by the way. It is the thing you do before you do anything else. Revolutionize chops, and your ability to play and to read. Yeah. And it's all Clark based. It takes you right back to Clark. Did you know there was a Clark 7? Brian didn't, but the Clark book actually goes up to 7. And so with all these Clark studies memorized, it's an incredible process.
Let me just ask, if somebody's interested in The Thing, how do they get more information about that?
Well, I'll send it to you, but Joey is free to hand the thing out. I mean, it's pretty impressive.
If you want to comment anything about this, or if you want to pop it over to me and I can make a post later on, I'm sure I'm going to get a bunch of people writing in and asking.
Yeah. He should really, I mean, the blogs he does are great, but if he could devote one to this, it's unbelievable, actually.
Yeah. Awesome.
John's done it twice, and even he thinks it's good.
Yeah, well,
2 days he did it.
I started joining.
Hashtag 2 days of practice, John.
Yeah, right.
And we've been out how long now?
On the last Mundi tour, I joined in for a few times to do The Thing, and I remember after the first day being shot, and I said to Joey, "Is this going to get better?" And he goes, "Yeah, give it about 3 days." And sure enough, 3 days later, it was better.
But I thought,
I wasn't as shot, but I have a thing that I've altered Joey's thing a little more for me. Like I do a similar number of exercises, but I work in some other things that I feel are important for my playing, like pop tones, something I got from Dave Hickman, and some Belk flexibilities that I work in instead. But it's basically a similar thing, a 90-minute gauntlet through the horns. Doing that thing, and I thought I had a routine before, and then was introduced to this. And it's like, oh, now I know what routine is.
It's an eye-opening experience. Yeah, I've already seen people asking about sharing this. So Joey, you and I'll have to chat a little bit later. Mark, what about you? What are you working on? What's on your stand like every day?
Well, right now I'm editing and working on finishing a book called Balance, and it is a fundamentals method. It's a fundamentals approach that takes, the reason it's called Balance is because it is informed by standing on the shoulders of giants. I don't have a single original idea in my head, never have, but I'm smart enough to surround myself with people who know what they're talking about, and I steal generously from everything that they tell me that works for me. And this particular routine, this fundamentals book, is a well-balanced diet of some of the most sort of the ones that are iconic, that tend to be made a religion out of. To me, if you do only one thing at the expense of everything else, you develop in a monochromatic fashion, and something in your playing is wanting. So this is just a really nice, well-balanced application of a variety of the things that have been helpful to me. And so I'm working on that, and I'm working out of it and editing it and trying to find ways to continue to expand this. And it will be published probably in the next year or so. Awesome. If we stay in isolation, it might be published next week. Who knows? But if you want to know what's on my stand every day, here are a couple of old school things.
It looks like you just pulled it out of the wall of the university.
Yeah, here's a couple of old school things that you can't get too far away from. You got Schubrick, and
Yeah.
you got Stamp.
Where did Mark go?
Yeah, I'm not doing well with that. And then a couple of things, other things I'm always enjoying. And here's to you, Scott. This is the Scott Belk.
First it disappears when
there it is.
Belk.
Scott Belk lip flexibilities, and I'm loving this Ray Mace flexibilities book.
Nice.
It's insightful.
Everybody's got a Belk.
You guys, yeah, you know there's a new Belk book, and we're going to get grief now because you're holding up the old one, right?
Yeah, I know, but
Right,
you know, I'm cheap, so.
John has it in PDF. He'll be happy to send it to you.
Perfect.
Right.
Yeah, let's rip that. Yeah. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing, Sam.
That's awesome. That's great. I mean, and there's a lot of varied stuff in there. I mean, I think it's pretty cool for people to be able to take away. Like, I think you had said that you took from Musiciano and Taylor to yourself. I think that's probably a really good lesson for all of us. Because not all of us can sound like Mark Clodfelter. Not all of us can sound like Nancy Taylor. Pretty much everybody can sound like Bill Stowman.
Well, I mean, if you had to pick one of us.
Yeah, right.
Sorry. But no, I think that being able to tailor stuff is obviously very helpful, and it's nice to hear so many people go through doing the same thing. I have a question for you guys. Actually, Mark, your wife had a really amazing question. I'm going to leave that for just a little bit and come to it because it's a heavy one. But my next question, this is like, I did this in the trombone session that we did last week. It's a top secret thing, but what do you look for when somebody's auditioning for you, for your studio? What are the traits that you're looking for when somebody's coming in for a trumpet audition at your school? Anybody?
I think it depends on what level, you know, like.
Sure, yeah. So let's talk about just
yeah.
maybe undergrad just to start. I'm sure we'll have a lot of people.
You know, I mean, I think and Nancy might be able to relate a little bit this just in the Southwest. You know, although El Paso has a much more saturated market of high school players right there in town than Albuquerque does. But you know, New Mexico and El Paso, it's a little bit hard to recruit out of state for undergrads, and so sometimes when I'm listening to auditions for undergraduates, it's can they even hold the horn? You know, and that may sound, I don't mean that to sound insulting in any way, but you know, so I get a lot of kids who come in who have not had much real training away from their band programs, and they didn't take a private lesson ever in their lives, and if they walk in there and they're excited, so am I. You know, I mean, there's a level of playing, of course, I hope all my applicants have, but if someone comes into my office and, man, they're totally into trumpet and they want to make it their life and music and they want to pour into it, I'm excited about that too, because you know I can teach them. I know I can teach anybody how to play trumpet, and so you know, for undergrads, it's a lot about attitude. It's a lot about desire for me. You know, for the graduates, it is you know, the level of play obviously for graduate assistantships especially is needs to be very high, and but also I look for someone who appears to have some leadership qualities, because I want my graduate students to also be leaders in the studio and in the department. And so you know, if I get a sense that someone really plays their tail off but might be lacking in some sort of leadership qualities, I'm a little less interested, you know, and you know, may look elsewhere. You know, and this goes without saying that the playing, of course, has to be great, but we all know that about auditions. You know, I mean, I'm not looking for any particular skill for the playing. I'm just, you know, so. But I think that's the big mistake most people make in their auditions is they play music that's too hard for them. You know, I don't want to hear you play Honegger and Trotta. I don't, unless you nail the living daylights out of it. Then you can play Honegger and Trotta. Unless you can do that, I don't want to hear it. I want to hear what you play well. I want to hear you nail the living daylights out of Haydn or Kennan or whatever. Do that. Play stuff that you nail and represents what you play. Don't play Honegger for me just because some other school required it.
Everybody,
It tells you something about a person's self-awareness when they do that,
Right.
John? I mean, I'm with you 100%.
Absolutely.
The last thing you want somebody thinking when you walk out of an audition was, "Wow, I really appreciate what you tried to do." That's not a great way to walk out, right? I mean, you want to come in there and own your space. And I want to also, of course, agree completely with everything John said. At the undergraduate level, I'm looking for a person with strong fundamentals, a teachable spirit, someone who really wants to learn, and then a work ethic of iron. That's a formidable combination. Because a teachable spirit is also a person who's going to be a great member of your musical community, and we all live in the house we build. We don't teach a subject in a studio. We teach a person. And so it's not like we're going to be in front of a class of 300 people and we don't know those people. We're going to interact at a personal level all day long for 4 years with these people. And so you want a person whose values are congruent with the expectations that you're going to teach of an individual, not just a trumpet player. Because ultimately we want our trumpet players to go out and relate what they have to the world and to offer those things to the people whose lives they'll go on to touch.
Yeah. Anybody else have anything they want to chime in on this?
I think that, I have some advantages at Messiah. Students are really kind of savvy and they tend to be pretty smart coming in, which is really good. I guess I've been doing this long enough to think about it in this way, that I accept the person, not the trumpet player. So I'm looking for someone who's got all those right personal skills, that's going to be a great team player, but we are teaching music. I'm looking for someone who's going to be capable of doing that, be a great comprehensive musician. But, as Mark said, it's someone you got to make sure there's great chemistry there and you can work with them. But ideally, I'm looking for someone who's going to go on and has a vision for their own life to impact the field, to impact the discipline. So I'm more interested in the person, really, than I am the trumpet player.
I second that.
Yeah, I've been seeing Nancy and Nairam both doing big nods.
Third that, yes, absolutely.
It's a big part of building your community. You want that person in your sandbox. Is the way one of my colleagues says it. Yeah, if it's someone you want to hang out with, and if it's someone who can learn and is not a jerk.
Yeah, that's a big one.
So much rather work with somebody who is less of a trumpet player and a better person with a good work ethic. Just like you've all said, I think we're saying very much the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. I think one other thing that I look for is the ability of the students to follow directions. Are they bringing all the required things that we asked? Sometimes they don't even look at the website, or they don't ask you, and they just bring whatever they think it's good. And that for me just raises a little red flag. But of course, I do think that personality is very, very much more important, at least at this level. And just the willingness of the student to be teachable. Is this student teachable? I think that's what I look into the auditioner.
Yeah.
That's an excellent point. Can they follow directions? That's an excellent point.
From the beginning, just with preparing the audition, like you're talking about, Nairam, like if somebody shows up with totally different audition materials than what you're expecting, then that's a little surprising sometimes. Yeah. So always pay attention, always ask questions, even going into these things. If you're preparing for a music festival, make sure you're going over that information with your amazing teacher and make sure that you're firing on all cylinders.
And I think I can speak for all of us that if you email us, one day we will respond, and get back to you, and just be a little bit patient. But we are here, and it's part of our job. We will get back to you. It's something that we like doing.
I will say that I make it a priority to answer emails of prospective students as soon as I possibly can. So I think we all do the same thing. I mean, I know at UNM, I'm not flooded with the number of emails like someone like a Dave Hickman was flooded with every day in terms of interest in ASU. I don't have that same crush of numbers. I remember asking him how many emails he responded to every day, and he said it was nearly 100. And I was like, okay, I don't have to do that, but I do make it a priority, and I think all my colleagues here in this panel say the same thing, that hey, prospective students, if you contact me, I will make it a point to get back to you. That's because it's hard to reach everybody with my own recruiting plan. And so when the kids come to me first, oh man, I'm all over that.
That's awesome.
I'm all over that.
That's great. Hey, let's get to like another dorky kind of trumpet question. Sound production. What are some of the things that you guys like? Who you listen to help develop your own concept of sound, or what you tell students to work on? What matters to you in a trumpet sound? Anybody want to start?
That it's not dull.
I think playing a Shires trumpet really helps. I think that's probably the most important part of sound production.
At the top of the pyramid.
Wait, is Nancy going to get a free horn now because of that? Because I would have said that too.
Yes, I win.
Who's the first? No.
Yeah. I mean, equipment is important. And seriously, when I played Shires, it was like the heavens opened up. And it's the most easy playing horn I've ever played. But I grew up listening. I think Håkan Hardenberger was my first trumpet hero, and he continues to be my trumpet hero. And so listening, I think students need to listen to find the sound in their head and then figure out all the other stuff. I'm going to let these guys talk.
Yeah. I want to hear more about trumpet heroes for like what you want to sound like.
Yeah.
What about the rest of y'all?
I grew up in a small town in Wisconsin and was relatively uninformed about trumpet through high school. I knew who Maynard Ferguson was and Wynton Marsalis, which of course are great role models.
Yeah.
But Herseth, but I think one of the people who had the earliest impact on me in terms of playing was Ron Rahm from the Canadian Brass. I just loved the character and what he did, and every record that he played, and I get to work with the guy now, which is amazing to me. And so
in your sound, and I can kind of hear the Håkan thing in Nancy's a little bit now that you're talking about it.
And so those were my first earliest influences, and then I got to college and someone played a Phil Smith CD for me, and I was just like, that's it, that's what I want to sound like. And then someone played a Tim Morrison record for me, and I was like, no, that's it. And it changed many times. Like the first time I heard Dave Hickman play live, I was like, no, that's it. But that's what it should be. Your idea of what is beautiful and what is a great sound to try to emulate should have many different influences, in my opinion. I've like Mark said earlier, he has a bunch of people that he borrows stuff from or steals from, and same. I've got a whole bunch of trumpet players rattling around in my head, and there's a lot of room for it to rattle. And so I got a big melon, and so it's I'm always trying to pull, based on what I'm playing, pull from a different influence. And so I try to encourage my students to do as much listening as they possibly can, which of course is both easier and harder in today's day. It's easier to access the music, but it's actually a little harder to devote yourself to do it. When I was young, I went out and spent my money on a CD, and I held the CD in my hand, and I listened to it religiously because I had spent money on it. And now it's all easy to get, and it's easy to just put it on and then go do something else while you're listening and not really hear what you're listening to. And so I think that's that devotion to a number of players, like I had a devotion to, has disappeared in a way that many people pick fewer heroes. And at least they're picking heroes. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I think if I had one wish for the younger musicians of now is that you would broaden your horizons of who you listen to, and listen to many different influences, and not just in classical if you're a classical person, not just in jazz if you're a jazz person, but also go beyond trumpet, for God's sakes. Go listen to Maria Callas sing. It'll change your life. Listen to Yo-Yo Ma play the cello, or who's the cat who just passed away, Lynn Harrell. And listen to these people who are real, true masters of their instrument, and and you're going to listen in a way that you're not going to listen for the technique of trumpet, which is what we do as trumpet players when we listen to trumpet recordings, is we listen and go, how are they doing that? When you listen to someone sing, you're not thinking that at all. You're just letting it wash over you. And so
That's a great point.
yeah, so I think having a wide range of heroes is important.
Mark?
I agree, John. I think that the number of people whose sounds I admire, and the number of people who I find things in what they do to value, I couldn't even begin to discuss it. But a great sound to me it's complex, like gumbo. It's got all those ingredients in it, and sometimes you need a little more spice in your gumbo, sometimes not so much, right? So to me, I guess a great sound is informed by a large variety of broad-based sounds that you accumulate in your ear, and that sound has clarity, and then it is malleable so that we can do a variety of jobs with it. Whatever is creatively going on in our mind, if we have that palette that we've absorbed from all these other great players, whether it be my first time I heard trumpet probably was on a Herb Albert record at my grandmother's house.
Awesome.
I remember this, and I don't play music of that style at all, but I knew as a young child what a trumpet was supposed to sound like just from hearing that. And then of course Maynard and Herseth, and then Phil Smith, and of course the elegance of Maurice Andre, and we're just getting started.
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah, it's kind of like gumbo, right? And then you just dish out what you need in the ingredients to do the job that you're applying it to.
I like that. Nairam, Bill, Nancy,
I like gumbo.
you like gumbo?
I'm hungry now.
Well said. Well said.
So I have a couple other questions that have come in, and one that I would love to get to is actually from Mark's wonderful wife, Rebecca. I think this is really interesting to chat about quickly, just for the people who are watching and viewing this thing. But what advice do you have for aspiring musicians who may be nervous about going into the music field now that the arts have so many variables going forward in this new reality? Anybody have any thoughts on that?
I would say that's what makes the arts so interesting and so much more palatable in a way, in that there are so many opportunities. You go into law and you have to practice law. I mean, I know there's different kinds of law, but you get a music degree, and then the field of music is so varied. There are many job opportunities. Some you have to create yourself. But I think there's an incredibly wide range within the arts, especially, and even outside of music, that the opportunities to be a professional musician are much more varied than people think. Look, if you want to get a job as an orchestral player, yeah, those opportunities are very limited, period.
Right.
But if you have some imagination and a willingness to branch outside of your comfort zone of what you think you do well, to try new things and learn new things and then become more marketable, you can have as many opportunities as you might want.
Yeah, that's a good point. Stowman.
And I know a lot of starving lawyers and doctors. People who have no, seriously. I mean, nobody gets a job that sets them up for life anymore out of college. Doctors have to go after they finish med school. They have to go do their residency, and they're paid terribly, and they work nonstop.
Yeah.
as residents, and they don't make their money till later either. And lawyers, same thing. You don't get your job unless you graduate from one of the top 2 law schools in the world. You don't get that high paying firm job right away. You got to work your way up. All that stuff is present there too. Maybe in the technological field is where you can get that high paying job right out of school, because that's such a growing industry.
Yeah. Stowman, what you got?
Well, just that anytime there's any kind of financial crisis like this, or there's, this is unprecedented, of course, but, the arts and the arts majors are the first thing to go. And parents become really gun shy about allowing their child to go and study music or the arts in any form. And we saw this after the 2008 too, where there was this sort of everybody kind of clamped down on their money, and then it started to unwind a little bit. In fact, economists call it the great unwind. Okay. You can do some research on that. John Gersma is a great person to follow to talk about those things. But in that unwind, people started to pursue quality. And this is the human nature part of this, right? Like, if I'm going to let go of my money and I'm going to do something, it's going to be after something I really want that has value. And I think what we have to remember is that the financial crunch on this puts a different spin on education. Unfortunately, it's like, what can I do to educate myself that will lead to this job or income? When ultimately, the true spirit of getting this education is to enrich yourself and to make yourself better. And if music is the thing you love to do, then there's a certain amount of trust involved with that. You do that. You pursue music as your career. You trust moving forward, and you pursue what you love, and it will work out for you.
Yeah. Good reading too. I'm gonna have to go check out some of that stuff that you're talking about. That's awesome.
Something to add to that. So I think that, since we are all quarantined and being at home, I think that it comes now a true appreciation for the arts. That if arts weren't here, how would we be surviving right now? How would we be surviving without listening to music, or watching your movies, or doing those virtual tours that the big museums are doing? I think the arts are essential for our lives, and this is showing that sometimes we take that for granted, and it's here. It will be here forever. It's been here forever and will be here forever.
Yeah, it's the thing we turn to when we don't know how to communicate about something, right? We're at a loss for words. We don't have vocabulary for what's happening to us. So ultimately, we try to express ourselves in any way we can. And I think you're absolutely right about that, Nairam.
Yeah, that's an excellent point.
I think if we look back in all of history, there's never been a time where the arts have not faced challenges, and yet they transcend.
Touche.
And we're at a place now where we've come to a stream. And so there's an obstacle, and we either have to find the rocks in the stream to get across, or we better set to work building a bridge. But either way, we'll find a way with perseverance. And I've heard it said before that if you only prepare for what has been, you rob yourself of the potential for what will be. Now, a career in music is not going to look the same tomorrow as it did 10 years ago, and certainly not the same as it did when I started my career a couple of years ago before that. But what we have to do is not think inside the box. If we're modeling after history, then we're living in the past. Our students have to be involved in critical thinking with regards to the creating opportunities and outlets for their artistry. And I think that as long as that is being emphasized, that there's going to be a place for people who have the tenacity to continue.
Yeah. Amen.
I mean, that's what creativity is, right? When you're given a task, something you have to solve, and not enough time to get it done, and really limited resources maybe to do it. That's when we'll find out who's really creative and how we'll find our path through this. And I really think we're changed forever because of this. Our teaching has changed forever, right? Methods that we use, and there will be a lot of good that comes out of this too, in the way we deliver curriculum and the way we design curriculum, and that we're going to be more prepared should it happen again. But there are a lot of things that are going to change, and a lot of things because of this that are going to stick. My youngest son, who's still at home with us, is 16 and a musician. He's going to pursue music as a career, and I'm thrilled about that. But he and I have talked about this, like, dude, things are going to change after this. Either there's going to be this huge springboard where people are going to come back to the arts and can't wait to get into a concert hall and can't wait to hear a performance, or they're going to say, you know what? life's okay. I don't need to be out every night. I don't need to go this weekend. And it's a scary time to see how it moves forward.
Yeah, absolutely. If you guys have time, we've reached just about an hour, but I do have another question. Nancy, did you have anything that you wanted to add in on that real quick before I move on? Echoing the other wonderful panelists. So I might start with you real quick, Nancy, but I'd love for you guys to be able to let people know what is important to you during this time, what projects you're working on. I know all of you are involved in so many different organizations and groups and projects within your studio, but also just professionally too. Nancy, you were talking a little bit about your OT stuff and your DMA, but can you let people know, and I'll put a link, just a little bit about your book and your work in the other realm outside of just teaching trumpet lessons and scales and repertoire and stuff?
I thought you were going to ask what my project is during this time, and I tell you what, my main concern during this time is that I don't gain 200 pounds.
How many loaves of bread have you made during this time?
None, but I've eaten several with butter, and then with butter and jam, and then with butter and butter. Right? Yeah, that's pretty much
ahead.
My main focus is not getting super fat because I need to be able to leave the house so I can go on a trip. I have missed going to ITG and to Enchantment so much because speaking of community, man, we need each other. So things like this are great, and I really appreciate you hosting it.
Yeah, this is awesome.
So
the project outside of bread eating.
Yeah, bread. We can get together and eat bread. So, what was the question?
Can you tell us a little bit about your book, maybe?
Oh, well, my book is called, what is it? Teaching Healthy Musicianship. It is the Music Educator's Guide to Injury Prevention and Wellness. So it is a book. It's published by Press, and it is the only book actually that has been written for music educators. I would love for healthy musicianship to be part of the curriculum for music education, but it's not. And there are already so many courses they're taking. It's hard, even at my own university, to get education people to give me a week or a day to talk about healthy musicianship. But still, kids will come in and talk to me, and I'll do a session at the beginning of each semester. So I want music educators to be able to identify factors in, like, the instrument position that their students are using in prevention of injuries. Like if a flute player's doing this and then they're like, my wrist hurts. I'm like, no kidding, dummy. And I want them to be able to teach all of these instruments in a way that will help the students keep playing, because we don't know why kids stop playing. Is it because they hurt? I don't know. You've always got the flute player who comes to you the day before contest and says, the doctor says I can't play for 3 months. And that's ridiculous. And that's why actually I went into the fields that I'm in with healthy musicianship, is because it is to keep us well, so that we know to give us, sorry, I'm not doing this very well, but it's to give us the tools to be able to recognize symptoms for when something is going wrong with a kid or ourselves.
Yeah.
To be able to recognize, oh, your hand hurts. It's probably because you're holding your piccolo trumpet, like this. Maybe you should try this. But then there are also things like how you drive in your car. If you're driving with your head way forward like this, well,
everybody's like right now going to be sitting up nice and tall as she's saying all this.
Dude's ears should go over your shoulders. And you can buy my book on Amazon. I've also done a series on YouTube, Healthy Musicianship series, where I talk about all these different issues, and you get to look at my face for 27 minutes. So that's kind of.
I have to say, I did one of Nancy's sessions, and I forget where, because you've done them at like different festivals and different like organizations and stuff. But it was some of the most like helpful physically, but also so fun and so interesting to get to know more. Hi, Kitty. Get to know more about what it is that like we as players do naturally, even though it might not be the most natural thing we should be doing.
Right, and there are so many things that we do in our brain that make trumpet playing hard, but also just in our body, the tension that we hold. And so, I've done a bunch of Alexander research, and that coupled with what I learned like in anatomy classes and stuff is really interesting. And Rebecca, to go back to Rebecca's question about what do you tell people in music about, people are maybe a little iffy about getting a degree in music right now. You can get a degree in music and go anywhere. You don't have to be, it doesn't mean you're going to be a professional musician. It doesn't mean you're going to, it doesn't mean you have to be. It doesn't mean you have to be a band director either.
Right.
With a music degree, you can go to law school, you can go to medical school, you can go to occupational therapy school. Just keep your options open. Music is great training for a great many of careers. But Bill Stowman is laughing about something. Bill, who are you?
Bill's next on our list anyway, so we're going to head over to Bill.
Am I next on the list?
I'm doing reverse alphabetical order this time. We're getting
right.
now.
That's fine.
So no, I was going to say the same thing to you, Bill. What are some of the projects that you're working on? What's your soapbox platform here?
Last solo CD just hit Apple Music, which is really cool. I'm excited about that. I'm doing the pre-edits on a new Messiah College CD that hopefully will get mastered at the end of this summer. And I'm to have about half of a book written. It's a teaching of artistry book, actually. This sort of aimed self-help for band directors kind of thing. It talks about a lot of the things that outside of music that influence us. The thing I'm most excited about coming up, I just wrote a grant to start a podcast, actually, with two friends, people you may recognize, Dr. Brian Appleby Weinberg and Joey Tartell.
Wow.
And we're going to be doing a brass ped podcast where we're going to be inviting some folks in to talk about some things and cover some of the major issues that we want to talk about in brass playing. So.
That's super fun. If I'm allowed to share it on our platforms and stuff, I'd love to help spread the word. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
That's very cool. Sweet, man. Nairam, what are you up to? And maybe remind everybody about your new appointment too, since you'll be starting that up.
Yes, so what I'm up to is trying to put my stuff in boxes because I'm moving from Texas to Jonesboro. I'm gonna be starting at Arkansas State University in the fall. So you can find me there. It's really close to Memphis, so you can come and eat some good barbecue. Not that Texas doesn't have barbecue, it's just brisket against ribs, right?
Everybody's face is like, oh boy.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go there, I promise. I already went there. But my major project is really just trying to transition well. And while I'm doing that, then in the process of trying to find a place to live and my cat and my getting car transferred and all this stuff. It's more of my next project. I'm gonna be recording with a tubist, and we're gonna be doing some trumpet and tuba duets, and I'm really excited about that. I'm hoping to get it started sometime next week. So fingers crossed.
That's awesome. That's very cool. Very cool. Okay, next up we have John Marciando, who has a very nice set of links that I'm going to share with everybody for all of the various ensembles and groups and Twitters and fun things. So John, you want to let everybody know what you're up to? And maybe unmute your mic first.
I should say, I forgot to mention in my first introduction that I also play in the Enchantment Brass Quintet, or the Enchantment Brass, which is the faculty group made up of the brass faculty at UNM, but also the brass students at UNM, and we often include many of the students in our concerts or recording projects. If you've heard our CD that we made of John Cheatham's music, there are 2 brass choir pieces on there, and the members that joined us to fill out the choirs were students, graduate students at UNM, and some undergrads as well. So I forgot to mention the Enchantment brass as one of the things I do, but
and Mendez too.
Yeah, well, I was going to say what I'm preparing for upcoming in the summer is the online Rafael Mendez Brass Institute. It has been moved online, and so we're going to be all sharing, doing a couple of master classes and many career seminars and discussions, pedagogical discussions, and it'll be different than the normal seminar in that no performing obviously of any mass ensembles. I believe there may be, I think Ron and his wonderful wife Avis might be doing a concert because they live together and they can do a concert. But it's going to be a smorgasbord, of brass information, from chamber music to I've seen some of the topics that we're discussing, chamber music to health and wellness, to auditioning, to teaching, to how to teach in a band setting, all kinds of different topics that are going to be discussed, and then individual classes, and then of course lessons if you want them, and so I'm busy preparing for that. I'm also been asked by some groups to, like this morning I just recorded a trumpet track for one of the local middle school bands. They're doing one of those video mashups of the band playing, and they asked some of the local teachers to join in, so I joined in. It was really fun. I'm currently preparing a piece for the Fountain City Brass Band. We're going to do another video. I again was very lucky to be asked to join them on their last video production, and we're going to do another one here soon. And some things like that. I'm getting ready. I want to do Ryan Anthony's Band of the World thing. I'm preparing some of those things, and then just enjoying playing the trumpet and playing what I want to play. That's the big thing. I haven't actually practiced etudes in a really long time, and I'm kind of enjoying getting back to them. I just ordered Phil Collins's 2 books, and I can't wait for them to come. I had the first one, and then a student repossessed that, and so he was very nice to send me that one too. But and so but getting into that kind of thing again, to play for what I enjoy, and
it's pretty special.
So
that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Last but not least, Mr. Mark Clodfelter. What about you? You always have a million projects going on.
Oh, well, not quite a million. I'm actually trying to catch up on some things that are long overdue. A couple summers ago, Rebecca and I recorded a new solo CD of all art songs that she and I arranged together. And in fact, Dr. Stowman was the producer on that project. And then life took over, a new job, moving across the country, this, that, and the other thing, and it just sat. And so I've been working diligently on that. I have a studio here at the house downstairs, called it the Sound Cellar. It's a really neat place. A lot of cool creativity happens here. So I've been working diligently on that, and I'm celebrating just a little bit today, because today I finished editing the last track for this, and so now it's going to be mixed and mastered, and one of these days it'll actually be released into the world. So we're looking forward to that. That's a really cool project.
That's awesome.
I've been a part of a few virtual collaborative projects through recording sessions, and done a little bit of mixing and mastering for other people's projects as well, which when all of your live performances are taken away, you have to figure out, what can I do? That's always my question. So now what can I do? And what I can do is continue to make music happen. Maybe it's not coming directly out of my trumpet. Sometimes there are other ways to make music happen. That's what we do. We teach, we play, right. We record, we produce, we make music happen. So I've really been delving into the creative side of working, with the studio here. And that's been keeping me very busy. Of course, also I mentioned the book earlier.
Yeah, which is very cool.
I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but that's enough, I think. That's enough out of me, right?
You guys also, I'm pretty busy. I don't hear a whole lot of nap time schedules or anything going on here.
No time for that.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a 9-month-old. There's no naps for me.
I'm also still trying to figure out how to play the trumpet. That's every day, right? You know, you wake up every day and go, oh, what is this thing sticking out of my face, right?
And brother. Well, this has been amazing. I just want to thank all of you guys for being a part of this awesome panel. Nancy?
May I say really quick?
Yes.
At University of Texas at El Paso, we have an awesome assistantship available.
Yes, for anybody who has openings right now, please.
Right? You told us we'd have this moment. Yes, teaching assistantship available at UTEP. Come on down. You
it's a great place.
Right?
I will also add to that we're fortunate at University of Delaware that we will have 2 each year.
All right.
Year, 2 of them. So you know, while you're down there auditioning at UTEP, just swing right by Delaware. We're right next door, and it'll be a party.
Speaking of next door, you know, I am literally 4 hours away from Nancy in Albuquerque. We're you know, and UNM. We have I have 3 assistantships that I get to work with: 2 brass quintet, 1 lead jazz trumpet player. And they're all full for next fall, but the following year for 21-22, I will have 2 of those open, the lead jazz and 1 quintet. So
and for this fall, I have 1 open. So
I'm just gonna say really quick, and Nairam and Bill, if you guys also have openings or other things like that to share, but I put up some contact information for all of our amazing panelists, so you can go onto their websites. Some people have social media stuff, some people have email addresses. If you are interested in learning more about any of their programs and you want, you know, more information from us, you can always email us at info@SEShires, and totally happy to help put you in contact with some of these amazing people. We feel so grateful to be able to work with people like these amazing college professors who are wonderful human beings, incredible musicians and trumpet players. But I mean, the students that work with them, I'm so grateful for the things that they learn from these teachers and just the human beings that they become in the real world. I've gotten to meet students from every single one of these studios, and they're great people, great players, and it would be wonderful if you get a chance to take a lesson with one of these incredible teachers. So if you need more information about any of their studios, reach out to them based on the contact stuff that I put out there. Email or message us on Facebook or go onto our website, send us a note. I'm happy to put you in touch with them too. But this has been an all-star cast tonight. Thank you guys so much for gracing us on this Zoom Facebook Live event. I really can't thank you enough. It's a total blast. It's nice to be able to get to see you. It's nice to hear what you guys are doing. We didn't even talk about mouthpieces. It's crazy.
I know. Well, thank God. Thank you for organizing, and I have to say that, you know, I'm very fortunate that I know these people on this panel, and I get to work with almost all of them on a pretty regular basis. And Nairam, we have not. I think we've met in person once, but we've not really worked together. But I look forward to hearing more from you and seeing more of you on the circuit, man. And good luck with your new job and everything. Yeah, good luck.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
thank you. I really appreciate it.
Just one last quick announcement. Stay tuned. We are going to be doing more of these Shires TV sessions every Thursday evening, 8 p.m. Eastern. So stay tuned. We haven't made the announcement for the next one, but it's going to continue to be great panels of teachers and professionals and players. We'll throw in some individual masterclassy kind of things too. When things get back to somewhat normal, it'll be fun. We'll be able to do some panels with our own craftsmen and craftswomen, and also like a Shires tour of the factory. So that will be pretty fun too. So we'll keep more content coming. But one last huge thank you to our panelists for participating tonight. And also just a huge thank you to everybody for tuning in. Feel free, write us if you have any questions, and thanks again for watching.
Sam, thank you, and thanks for everything you do for us and our students. You've put some great horns in the hands of kids over the years, and bravo.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Thanks for tuning in.